Mm.
Like how did you affect a person's life? Okay, what put you in a position to do that? Now, we know right now that people are carrying more revolving debt than they ever have. We know that. Absolutely true.
Yep.
We also know that the Fed Reserve is trying to bankrupt people by keeping the Fed fund rate and those credit card rates as high as humanly possible. I think they're doing it on purpose to get them to either foreclose or do refinances and get them out of those threes because that was a big mistake.
Mm.
But
Mm.
whatever the reason, so we know that there's a lot of pain points with our clients, our friends, our neighbors, our community. And if you as a loan officer actually have the skill set and the tools to go into that person's life and take some of that pressure that they're feeling right now, which is enormous, and you can alleviate some of that and put them in a better financial situation, I'd argue that you don't have a professional obligation to do it. You also have a personal obligation to do that.
Mm.
Because if you were embodying what Dave Savage had said, hey, man, how many people's lives have you been able to affect for the better? Well, if I really look at my business in those terms, then I need to go out there. I have a personal and a moral obligation to speak with those clients because I've got the solutions. It's when we choose not to look at our business and when we choose not to look at our business in that fashion that we tend to neglect our clients. It's why
Mm.
75% of the people who get a refinance don't do it with you. They do it
Mm.
with somebody else.
Mm.
It's because we're neglecting our database. I'm saying go back to your database and talk with your database, not only because that's where you're going to find money to sustain yourself, but go to your database because right now they need you. They
Yeah,
actually do.
it's like it's almost more of a moral obligation if you
Yes,
care about them to just reach out and say, I can help you, you know.
right. And
Yeah.
here's the point, and this is where it gets real sticky here. Is back in 2008, I remember being at Chris Belsky's house, and I was this is a new subdivision where everything was gridded out.
Yeah.
And I remember looking, every house was like they built 1 million houses. It's an area called Natomas. They built 1 million houses in like 2 weeks, and there was like 100,000 people. A whole city is crazy,
Mm.
but everything was gridded out. And I remember everyone bought it once, and everybody foreclosed it once. And you could look down this street, and you could see like 6 blocks down, and every house had a sign in front of it with dead grass.
Mm.
Every single one of them, as far as you can see.
Wow.
Every single one of those people could have done a modification or a short sale. They could
Yeah.
have. Maybe
Yeah.
they did. But the vast majority of people, and we have precedents now, we know this to be true. Most people aren't going to deal with their problems. They're going to stick their head in the sand and wait for the sheriff to show up.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at those who are behind on their mortgage payments right now, 30, 60, and 90 days, and we look at our recent upside down equity in certain markets, it's starting to get as big, if not bigger in some areas than what we had in 2008. Now, we already know what human behavior is. The vast majority of them aren't going to take the steps necessary to fix their
Mm.
situation because that's uncomfortable. It's
Mm.
not going to the dentist, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to go to the dentist because I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
Well, great. Now you're going to have to get a root canal in 2 years. So it's the same thing we're doing with our houses. So your clients aren't going to reach out to you. So you can't just sit there and wash your hands of it and say, oh, my friends and my family, they didn't reach out to me. So how the hell am I supposed to know? Well,
Mm.
you're supposed to be a professional. You know this information. This is your skill set. This is your knowledge set. And because we know they're not going to reach out, then we have that moral obligation, Frank, not only professional, but moral obligation to reach out to them in some
Mm.
capacity and say, hey,
Mm.
listen, I know this right now. I know that 75% of people who are behind, or excuse me, 50% of the people owned houses out there right now. And I know that there's 50% of those who are carrying more debt than they can hold on to.
Mhm.
I know I just read an article that said the New Car Association of America group came out and said the average credit score and the average down payment of their average borrower has dropped by 40% over the past 6 months. People are finding stress points right now, and these are all canaries in the coal mine that should tell us we have to be proactive in our approach. Sitting back and saying, "Hey, I know they need help, but I'm waiting for you to come and court me,"
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
really work. We need to be proactive in reaching
Yeah.
out to our
Or it's not, I'm waiting for you to come court me. It's like, man, I wish somebody would call me,
right.
instead of
Yep.
just calling. Steve Kyles brought up who works with animals. He found the stat somewhere where, that the disc profile, right? The DI, you know, SC or whatever it is, right? The disc
Yeah.
profile. Well, I guess that the vast majority of Americans, like 62% of them are an S. Okay. For whatever that means. I don't even know. I can't remember. But what it does mean is these are people that really, they just want to be led. They prefer to be led. These are the people when we get a referral and they come to you and say, hey, Sally sent me over to you. I want to get pre-approved. What do I do? right? They want to be led. They want you to take them through the process and help them along and tell them what their rate's going to be. They're not the ones that are like, I'm going to shop you, you, and you, and I'm going to determine this, that. They're no, but the vast majority of the people in America simply want to be led, and that goes in right in hand with what you're saying. If you got a database of people, there's probably a lot of them that are hurting right now, but they just need someone to lead them. They need someone to step in and say, "Hey, are you okay?" or "Are you not okay?" And if they say, "No, I'm not okay," then help lead them to a better place, right? To help them out. So good points, man.